I've got so much to talk to you guys about with regards to last year and how we're going to do going into 2025, but it took me a really long time to figure out the words to say, so we're just going to jump in and do it. This is a really personal video, so if you are somebody who cares about the journey that I've taken as a content creator and the community that I've been wanting to foster for a long time, then this is a video for you, whereas if you're watching me because you're wanting something from a particular game, then perhaps this isn't the one for you. So 2024, I'd say, was a pretty interesting year for me as Joesephyr and just as Joe, and I'll be honest with you guys, I'll be honest, I feel like I've let people down a lot in the last year, certainly in the first half of 2024, mainly because I just felt like I was flailing. I didn't really know who I wanted to be, who I wanted to connect with, how I wanted to connect with people, how I best felt I would bring value to people as a creator. I couldn't keep down a solid schedule for streaming like I used to. My YouTube was struggling, apart from a massive boon with Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, which was very short-lived. And I just wasn't enjoying games the way I used to because I felt like I was forcing myself to play things I didn't necessarily want to do. And because of it, I felt like a lot of the community that I'd built for many years was no longer around. But as we enter 2025, I've really come to realise that a lot of that was actually all in my own head, and how much I'd fostered a self-fulfilling prophecy that really threw me into a downward spiral, because there was a lot of amazing stuff in 2024. So here we are to try and rectify that stupid mindset of mine. I've had multiple experiences in the past year that have really shaped me again as a person, because I realised over the course of the last year that I'd shut a lot of things out. First of all, it's the rediscovery of my ability to draw and paint and my artwork discovery, which is something I sorely needed to rediscover because it's something I've had since I was a child, and I'd always dabbled with it for like a week or two at a time for the past few years, but I always felt like people just didn't really want to see it, so I'd always stop and then move back into my comfort zone for the things that I was known for. Whereas this year, I've really thrown a lot out, and I'm really proud of myself for stepping outside my comfort zone with it. Like this Vivi picture, I'd never done colour work really before now, and I'm now really confident in it and I really enjoy it and I want to share that with people. I opened up an Etsy store. It hadn't had the most sales in the world, but it's something I would like to try and grow more, and I'd like to just be able to share something that's personal for me with my audience and my community. So I'm actually holding an object that resonates very strongly with me for video games in general, and it's not for the reason you think. My relationship with games has been pretty tumultuous over the past 12 months, finding a real struggle with wanting to be known for things that I respected, but just couldn't connect with other people in the same way others did. And because of this, I was kind of flailing around trying to force myself into directions that I struggled to go in. Like I wanted to be a JRPG guy, whilst also realizing that a lot of aspects of JRPGs, other than the ones I really do love, like your Final Fantasies and your Dragon Quests and the HD 2D stuff, I just don't really connect with. Like, I'm not somebody that's gonna dive into the Trail series and be passionate about it, which is, I know, something that you guys do, or some of you do, and it's just not something I'd be able to click with. Whereas things like Monster Hunter and Nintendo, like I did the NES World Championship earlier in the year, and that was an absolutely magical experience. And I've also just really loved trophy hunting for a really long time. This is adorable, by the way. This was made for me for Christmas, and I love it. And the reason for that is because, to me, platinum trophies aren't about a bragging right, or aren't about having something that you just show off, look how many of these I've got. I've been doing trophy hunting with my friends for a long while now, so I'd say like just after lockdown, or just before lockdown started actually, where I would go through a game and my friends would watch, and then that developed into my friends would play a game and then we'd all watch. And we just kind of had this almost streamer-like quality round my house every week. And it's just developed into this scrapbook of memories. Like, I can identify every single platinum trophy that we've got, where we were when we got it, what we were doing when we got it. And I think that's magical. And I thought it's been staring me in the face the whole time. I really loved going through on stream the platinum for Rebirth. Even though I really didn't respond very well to Rebirth's story, I still really loved the game, because of the connections I've made through playing it to that level. And it also enables me to play a variety of different games, and it's just been really fun. So I'd love to share more of that completionism aspect of video games with you guys, not for the destination, but for the journey. And it doesn't necessarily have to just be platinum trophies either, because I enjoy that kind of thing with all sorts of games. Like Nintendo have been a massive part of my journey this year, thanks to the grace that they've shown me to represent them at events and keeping me a part of the loop with projects and products they've had all year. And I've loved Nintendo since I was a baby, like a literal baby. So it's been absolutely wonderful to take part in things they've done. And we know that they're going to have some major releases this year. So that's definitely something I'd like to talk about more going forward too. Consistency has not been my friend this year, and that's my fault, nobody else's. And I understand that trust is very important in the relationship between a creator and their community, and I can give reasons for why I've not been consistent, but that's not an excuse, certainly. So for that, I'd like to apologise before I explain anything. I took on another job that people may or may not be aware of at the end of 2023 that I wanted to prioritise, because frankly I wasn't earning enough money from my own content anymore and I wanted to keep myself safe. And I really like my job with Final Fantasy Union. My editing and script writing skills have really improved in the last year, so I'm honestly really grateful to them and happy to call them friends. I was also stung, once again, by being too trusting of certain other creators who I felt had my best interests at heart, but that turned out not to be the case, and I remembered what a viper's nest this industry can be, which sent me into a bit of a feedback loop of feeling like I just wasn't strong enough to take all that on. But since then, I've learned to lean on my friends in the industry a little bit more and establish more of a support system, which I'm really, truly grateful for. I did get to accomplish a real dream of mine in the gaming sphere in 2024, having travelled to Las Vegas once again to go to EVO for the first time. I used to live in Vegas and I've never been to EVO, and having my eyes just glow up at watching Street Fighter 3rd Strike in person helped me to really rediscover what it is about video games I love, and also realizing that I don't actually play anything with anyone. Everything I kind of do is a very much a solo activity, whether it's drawing or painting or the kinds of video games that I've been playing for the past few years, and that's something I'd like to change. As a community, I think it's nice to be able to interact with each other directly, and that's something I'd really like to do with future releases. Monster Hunter Wilds is the first one that comes to mind, and that's a game I'd like to do a lot of coverage on because I actually love Monster Hunter. But I did also stumble into playing another mobile game in Pokemon TCG Pocket, which has given me a pretty fast following on TikTok, which is very unexpected. And it's something I would have previously forced myself out of because of previous experiences with things like Dissidia or Opera Omnia, but I just thought to myself, I'm gonna choose to embrace this instead. And it has given me a lot of opportunities, and it's another aspect I can pursue in content. But my plan is to not let it be the only thing I can talk to people about, because that was my main issue when I did Dissidia, is that people would only ever talk to me about that one thing, and it became really tired really fast, especially when I discovered I didn't really like the game anymore. So at this point, I'd like to extend a really big thank you to companies like Square Enix, Capcom, Nintendo, Sega for including me in their campaigns as they have. I went off JRPGs pretty heavily at the beginning of the year because there were so many of them loaded on so fast, and that train did not stop throughout the year. But playing Octopath Traveler again really did reignite my RPG spark and the right way I play them, and I kind of consider them cozy games, and I don't see it as a big deep thing, and that's been really nice. So for that, I'm really happy to have done that, and I plan to keep that spark lit too. Not sure if people are aware of this, but I have a diagnosis for generalized anxiety disorder, so that maybe explains some of the reasons I might feel hesitant to engage with others directly when it comes to video games, certainly in a competitive environment. And I could just accept this, but really I'd prefer to try to combat it and elevate the way I play games and interact with my community back to how I did before COVID, before I ever really became a content creator, because I am a very social person. So I find it really bizarre that I can talk to anyone at a party, but if you put a game in front of me, I find it really hard to play with anybody. So I want to use those shared experiences to forge new relationships and reinforce existing ones. So I suppose from a content perspective, my primary focus is to try and tie everything I've done up until this point together, because it is kind of exhausting to do completely different subjects on YouTube, Twitch, and now TikTok as well. So I want to kind of bring them all together and put systems in place to make things easier for me to post and stream more regularly, as I have found it really difficult to balance all of these different subjects whilst also working and trying to have a social life as well. I just get exhausted so much faster than I ever used to, because I always feel like there's somewhere else or something else I have to do or somewhere else I have to be. So my ultimate goal is for my content to bring value to a wider array of people through multiple subjects, because put simply, I just love talking about games with people. And for those who have stuck by me despite this tumultuous time, whether you've supported me on Patreon or on stream or anything like that, I'm extremely grateful, and I'm constantly looking for ways in which I can repay that kindness. In all honesty, it makes me a little bit emotional talking about stuff like that, because I just feel like I've been a bit of a letdown, and I don't want to continue down that road. I really want to push back on it. So to summarise the types of content I want to make, I'll give you a quick rundown, because I don't want people to think I'm quitting talking about JRPGs, because I still love them. I still love my Final Fantasy, my Dragon Quest, my Bravely, my Octopath, etc, etc. But I want to go at it from a different perspective. I actually take some inspiration from a friend of mine, Genesis7, who, if you don't know him, please do go follow him, who does similar things to me with trophy hunting, particularly with JRPGs. And I want to be a bit more like him, to be honest, and I want to show you how much more there is to trophy hunting than just bragging rights, because you can really give them way more meaning than you might think. So I want to talk about completionism in general from a perspective of game recommendations for you. Not only whether they were hard or easy to complete, but whether they were actually fun or not, and whether completionism added to the game or detracted from it, because I've had experiences both ways, and honestly it may have killed Final Fantasy XIV for me. Of course, I'm going to continue to do Pokemon coverage. I did not expect that this would occur, but I'm really happy that it has, and I've had more views on this than I ever had even in my prime time with Dissidia over on TikTok. So it's a roller coaster ride I wasn't quite ready for, but I want to take by the horns. For example, I've never played Generations 2 or 3 before, and I'd love to do that on stream and share my experiences with you here on YouTube as well. I'd also quite like to dabble in VGC as well. The number of times I've built teams for it but been too scared to go to an event or actually play anything. So I might need people to help me overcome some fears with that one, but it is something I'd really like to do. Nintendo's got a pretty wild ride ahead of them too this year, I imagine, given that the heavily speculated Switch 2 is expected to drop soon, which is something I'd really like to be a part of. And I'm not being funny, but there's a Metroid Prime game coming this year, and I won't be shutting up about that for a long while. In the same vein as Monster Hunter and wanting to create more content and play more games with people, I've been wanting to make a community-focused video game book club for a long time too. A place where we can come together and discover new and old games as a group, particularly ones we all already have access to thanks to things like Game Pass, PlayStation Plus and NSO. We haven't fully worked out the details for this, and I've been talking to my friends and my partner about it a lot, as I really want to integrate everyone, including like my Patreon members, into this as a way to help make suggestions and really make something out of it. So I haven't quite worked this one out yet, but we're getting there. Essentially, I've had too many ideas, and I'm currently in the process of distilling it all, but I wanted to come on here, because I haven't been on in the last week or two, and basically vent about how I've been the last year. I don't expect this video to get a ton of views, and I'm totally fine with that. It's as much for me to get my thoughts out in the world and on video, than expecting people to actually see them. Just like my art, which is also something I'd like to do more of this year. So if all of this sounds interesting to you, please feel free to drop me a message over on Discord or a comment on here. I miss the conversational aspect of making YouTube videos. I always say if you don't know what to comment, type the word algorithm, but I think that's been a big problem with me and YouTube, is that I kind of gave up and thought, okay, I'm just gonna have to go with the algorithm way of doing it, but I like talking to people. That's what I wanted to be a content creator to do. So I want to go back to that somewhat this year. I'm tired of trying to be explosive, keep up with the algorithms as it were, because it's just not me. So there's plenty to look forward to. I'll be posting my new stream schedule and video schedule over on the community page very soon, so subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you all very much to those of you who have, and those of you who even taken the smallest step of this journey with me. I'm actually really looking forward to this year, and I feel really good about it, so let's do it.